We're going to do our mishaps, fails, and quick fixes. We're going to share our stories so that we can all learn from each other. And I think this is going to be very interesting. I'll get it started. Mine is pretty gross. Really disgusting and very embarrassing. So I was at a campground, and it's a campground that you can stay for like 14 or more days, but they have a service that I've never heard of before where they will come and empty your black tank or in your gray tank for you. You don't have to move your camper, you don't have to do anything. So pretty cool, right? I had them come because my tanks were full and everything went well. Well, the next time I went to dump myself at the dump station, they hadn't put the lever in, they hadn't closed it. So, in other words, yeah, I don't even think I need to say anymore. When I turned that cover, it explosion, and I'm talking explosion. There's no way you're stopping it. All you can do is just like frantically be confused about what to do next. I'm not even telling you how many showers I took, and I mean, it was everywhere. So my takeaway from that is now I always, 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 no matter what, I make sure that that lever is in before I untwist that cover. So that is my mishap, and that is my fix.
Well, we
Thank you.
haven't really had a whole lot of like nothing compared to that. But
That's a
when
good
you
thing.
live in Oregon, you don't need AC very often. And so we had bought our trailer. We'd had it for 3 years, 3.5 years, and we'd never turned the air conditioning on because we never needed it. Well, then we went to Utah and we turned it on, and yeah, it
It
was
it went
90 plus and we had no air
it
conditioning.
went for like, 10 or 15 seconds, and then it'd go out.
If you don't use the system for a little bit of time,
Yeah.
take it in, make sure it works
Check
before you go out, before
every
you need it.
system before you go out. Yeah, so that's definitely our tip.
That's a good one.
Well, staying on the air conditioner theme, last year ours quit in July. We were camping and it just stopped, started humming and doing nothing. So like, all right, we took it in to our normal place, and they said they thought they knew what it was. I think it was the blower motor, something like that. So they ordered one, put it in. It took way too long, so we had to push our next trip off by a day. We had a big 2-week trip coming up, but we got it back just in time to make our revised schedule. The very first place we stopped in Iowa was 95, didn't work. And we had paid $750 for them to fix it. So then our whole 2-week trip, we had no air conditioning. 100 degrees in Ashland, Nebraska,
Badland.
Badlands, Lake
Wow.
McConaughey. So we had to deal with how to camp without air conditioning again. We hadn't for a while. Well, when we got back, I took it in and they said, "Oh, it must not have been that part. We'll have to order a different part,"
Oh,
right? After 2 weeks, they still hadn't fixed it. Finally, I made up a story. We have to go camping somewhere. I went and took it somewhere else. They opened it up. They crawled up on top. There's nothing in there. No motor, no nothing. They had charged me 750 some dollars, and there was nothing left in the air conditioning system. Oh, and on the way back from that previous trip, the top blew off, the air conditioner
the
hood.
cover.
So they hadn't even batted that down or screwed that down tight. So
I'm speechless.
so the new RV place said, "We can have you a new one, brand new one for you tomorrow." Okay, so the quick fixes go somewhere that knows what they're doing, and they can fix it or give you a new one right away. But somehow you have to figure out who the good
Go to
RV
a
places are and
reputable
who is.
repair place.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
No
Thank you for sharing that
No spare.
story.
Spare AC. Actually, we bought one of those. Don't ever do this. At Walmart, they have this little thing. It's like they call it a portable air conditioner. I mean, this is like, it was 100 degrees. We were desperate. And I opened up the box and it's like shaking. Okay, somebody had returned it. Missing pieces. We were miles from where we had bought it from. It was like, just get a fan, open the windows, go find a brewery until it gets dark.
That's the best tip. Yeah.
That's our solution.
So we don't have one with the little guy because we're pretty new. Although we have had a few little things, but we were dispersed camping, so we were using a Luggabaloo, which we actually our first camp trip in our little guy we didn't have it dewinterized yet, and we did use our Luggabaloo there as well. So it kind of would apply. So have the Luggabaloo. It is like day 2. and it's in the morning and I'm moving some stuff around and I picked the luggable loo up and I don't know why I grabbed it from the sides instead of the handle, the bail at the top of the bucket. So a luggable loo, if you don't know, is like a 5-gallon bucket, right, with a toilet seat lid on it. And that toilet seat was still in my hands as the bucket dropped to the ground and it shot up like a volcano
Oh.
and went all over the roof and all over me. And I screamed, or the people we were camping with heard it, assumed spider, right? Because and I'm like, I was like, I can't even get in the car to go home like that. I mean, I was freaking out. And Mike's like, go talk to Denise Des Moines. They had a class A. So I went over there and I'm standing outside and Denise like, come in. And I'm like, I'm not coming in. And then I told them what had happened. And her husband is behind her laughing. And she keeps saying, stop it, Moy, stop laughing. Right. And I'm like, what? I'm like, it was a terrible story, yes. But then finally he goes, Tanya, I have to tell you, you have toilet paper in your hair. And I had a big wad of toilet paper hanging in my hair. And so I used so much of their water. There, she's like, I don't care. I scrubbed myself like 3 times over at least, and it was terrible. So if you're using a luggable loo in the winter because you're winterized, grab it by the bail. Don't grab by the sides and have the same incident. That was terrible.
Great story. Thanks for sharing.
And we were camping close to where we live in Iowa. Just gone for a week and we're going home. Packed up, everything was fine. Got home, unpacked, put everything away. And then we realized the window over our kitchen was not there.
Oh.
It completely was gone. So if you don't latch the window really well and you're driving and the breeze catches it, it will disappear on you. Never, drove back the same route, never saw anything of it.
So make sure you latch
make
the window.
And then
Double
go
check.
around and check it again.
Yes.
So the fix for that temporarily was to put some black plastic over it with tape and just, keep it from getting wet. But I think it was that same winter, after we'd winterized and parked it under the tree in our backyard. We live in Iowa, remember?
It's flat.
It's flat, and we lived right on the edge of town. So when it was snowing and blowing, it decided to blow in the vents above and below the refrigerator. We had black snow blowing that year, of course, from the field next to us. Well, there's black smut all over our mattress. Oh,
The closet and onto the mattress.
yes. Yeah, so the cleanup of that was not just water, it was mud and everything else. And there's still a stain on our mattress from that.
Like we put a plastic bag in between the vent cover.
Yeah, take the vent cover off, wrap it in plastic, and put it back in.
That's smart.
That was a surprise.
We forgot to close the vent over the shower and drove all the way home and opened the door, and the whole trailer was covered. Luckily, not mud, but dust, fine, sandy dust everywhere.
Well, that's because we had driven about 30 miles on
A
dirt
dusty road,
road.
yes, on a dusty road. But
So
yeah.
it sucked everything in.
Yeah, so that was a very long cleaning. So I never drive away without checking my vent above the shower because you just don't want to do that again.
Deb, did you say you have one now?
I do.
Oh,
I
right.
remember the first morning. I opened it up. It was wonderful. I thought everything was great. And then it was time to leave. And of course, it's got to start pouring out, and I can't get it to unwind. And I'm thinking to myself, how do I drive down the road
With the-
with this awning on? So I had to actually go knock on a neighbor's door, and he came out and he was having a hard time too. So I never opened it up again until Joe opened it up and go, don't touch it. He goes, no, it'll be all right. It'll be all right. So he's got it fixed now.
What was happening or what was going
I-
on, do you think?
Well, you should read instructions. Because the instructions said to push it in and then turn. And I was just turning like a crazy woman. I think it was the rain was getting to me. I was getting nervous. So, but it all worked out. The next time I took it out, all of a sudden water was just like filling up in the bathroom. I didn't understand. Clear water. I'm like, what is going on? It's like, I don't even understand what it is. It's like, and the sink was filling up. So I don't know. I guess you had to open something up. So again, I had to go to a neighbor and find out. But one thing I will say with RVers, campers are very, very nice, and they will come out and help you. So
I find that to be very true too.
Mhm.
Great story. Thank you.
So a lesson I learned is to make sure you take the glass plate out of the microwave when you're traveling. I had this freak thing happen and I still don't know how it exactly happened, but this was before I started to use Al's drawer locks. I don't know if any of you have seen the drawer locks he came up with the dowels and you drill a hole in the
That's
side.
genius.
But somehow, as I was traveling, the top drawer opened, the microwave door opened, and the glass plate came out of the microwave and landed in the drawer, and the drawer must have closed. And so I get to where I'm going, and
You can't make that up.
the microwave door is open, but the glass plate is gone. Like the sequence of events that had to have happened is just, I just still don't know how that happened. But that was a lesson I learned that I now take the microwave plate out, put it in the top drawer, lock the top drawer. No, it didn't break. The other thing I learned too, so the hitch that goes over the ball on mine sometimes gets stuck, needs to be adjusted. And I learned the hard way that you need to make sure you put the wheel chocks on the wheels before you jump up and down on the back bumper of your truck, because I jumped on the bumper, it released, it slid back off the platform I have the crank on and went right down into the ground. And I had to, it was hard to get something under there, to get the jack under there to be able to raise it enough to put something underneath the tongue to then crank it up even more. But yeah, so wheel chocks first before you start to unhitch your camper.
That's a good tip.
I don't have one for me. I got one I can relate from my uncle, which helped me because my last 3 years in the military, I taught ROTC, and I bought a 40-foot toy hauler and I lived at that on a lake in South Carolina. But the lesson he taught me was bugs. To always treat for bugs. So all my dry goods would always go in Tupperware containers. Take your shoes off when you come in. I keep everything clean. And the only bugs I ever had were flying bugs because you can't stop them from coming in when you open the dang door. But his was because he had to have the side of his, he had a shorter fifth wheel, like 28 footer, but he had to have one whole side of it replaced because it turned into an ant farm. If you can imagine an ant farm, one whole wall. And this is in Texas. This is in Live Oak, Texas, hill country. And he always put down spray. So wherever I went and parked, I would use Ortho Home Defense. I spray my landing gear around everything, all the openings, around the doors, around the windows, no problems, no bugs. And he did the same thing. And he could not figure out where they were coming from when he first caught them in there. And he took them apart the inside trying to figure out where it was coming from. He had a video of it. He parked under a live oak tree. The closest branch was like 4 feet above it. And he has a video of fire ants making a chain down from a branch to the top of his RV. And it just, one whole side of the RV he had to have replaced. It was like half the price of the RV to have everything done. Treat for bugs. That's the lesson I learned and follow always.
I can't imagine.
Previous RV we had like 30-gallon tanks for everything, and I was filling up the gray to flush out the black, and somebody fell asleep, I think, and so it actually backed up and went all the way. And the only reason I discovered it because I was sitting outside, and it backed up the pipe for gas to go out the top, and had filled up the sinks, was overflowing the sinks, went up that pipe and come out the outside, and then was splashing me because I was sitting outside reading. It was quite a mess, and luckily it wasn't any permanent damage to the press board that we had in there for the walls. So it just cleaned up and put some fans out, let it dry up. Took all the traps. You have that closure that goes shut, and so I took those all out, cleaned them all out, get all the crap out of them, make sure they closed again. And so yeah, it was just it was a mess.
We've been kind of lucky. Really haven't had any major mishaps with our little guy, but one kind of comical thing. We're heading up to the UP, cross the Mackinac Bridge, heading down US 2 highway along Lake Michigan, lower UP. This car pulls up next to me, and this lady's showing me her iPad. It says, they're trying to read what was on it. It said plate. Like,
Flap something.
or nothing. Or so.
We're like, who are these crazy people? You know?
Yeah, so we drove a little while, then we pulled over, and I get out, look around the camper, and on the newer little guys, they mount the license plate bracket off the very bottom of the bumper. So the plate is actually, there's nothing supporting it except the top two screws, and it's just air behind there. Well, I knew my plate was a little bit worn. Well, it wore the tabs, the holes on top where it mounts to the frame of the under the light, and it was torn and just hanging by one
It was
screw,
just like
flapping in
inches
the
or,
wind.
centimeters from just coming off
Yeah,
completely.
so our fix, like, okay, well, I took that screw off. Well, both holes are gone on the plate. So I had to mount the plate upside down. And we drove to our destination with the license plate upside down in our bracket. So that was one comic,
That
kind
was,
of
yeah.
comical. But one thing that I've had many boats prior to doing RVs, trailing a lot of boats. And I remember one day we went, picked up our new boat, and we had a small little minivan at the time. So I hooked it up and I drove home, must have been 25, 30 miles. I got home and I get out and I'm trying to release the chains. I'm wondering what the heck, why are the chains so tight? Well, I guess in the receiver, I forgot to put the pin in it. And luckily, I crossed the chains because that was supporting the receiver from coming all the way out of the socket. So lesson learned, make sure you put your pin in your receiver, or as a safety, I try to always cross my chains.